good morning, Roger.
Good morning.
Can you tell us how long have the Mi'kmaq people been in Nova Scotia?
Okay, I think if we just recap about what we were talking about, the Mi'kmaq cultural landscape on the previous recordings that we did here. We talked about a Mi'kmaq presence prior to the arrival of early settler populations, but Mi'kmaq had been here in the province for approximately 13,500 years, and that's based on a site at the Burt, which is located just a few kilometers outside of Truro, Nova Scotia.
And prior to 13,500 years, who was here before then, do we know?
Who was here and what was here?
Yeah.
Ice.
Ice? Okay.
Glacial ice.
Glacial ice. Perfect. Can you talk about the difference between contact and colonization? What is the difference? Is there a difference?
Okay, we talked about a pre-contact population here in the province in Mi'kma'ki. That would include early Mi'kmaq people before European explorers, basically 1604. So a contact period would be that period of first European contact. Now people, for the record, they say, okay, it's 1604 with the founding of Port Royal, but it would have been previous to that because you had early French settlement at in Petite, Lunenburg, Petite Riviere, Lunenburg, and Liverpool area. And they gradually, that French community there, colony was there for about 3 or 4 years, then they moved it to Annapolis. So, but then again too, we have early Basque here through the 1500s. And a good example of that now, that Basque population here in the 1500s, late 1500s. I was just reading a historical article, and they were talking about canoes. And it's interesting because in this early explorer's records, he talks about Mi'kmaq using skin canoes on a canoe frame. And then they transitioned into a bark canoe. Then they transitioned into using early Basque shallops. When the Basque fishermen were here, they'd leave their shallops, which is kind of a small little sailboat type of thing for inshore fishery. And they'd leave them here over the winter, and when they'd come back, the Mi'kmaq people would be utilizing them. Rather than argue over ownership, they allowed the Mi'kmaq people to use these, what they call shallops. You'd even see pictures of them at Kejimkujik National Park, an historic site. And they also talked about what type of canoes Mi'kmaq had here. And now you're talking, like I say, the late 1500s, and they're talking about, okay, Mi'kmaq water vessels were primarily riverine, and they did not have an ocean-going canoe, which is interesting, especially coming from these early Basque records, right? I wouldn't call that 1500 period, that mid-1500 to late 1500 period, colonization, because they were just primarily here to fish. The early 1600s was that period of contact, rather, not colonization. The French were interested in primarily trade, right? There was no challenge or threat of loss of land. It was kind of a reciprocal relationship. Mi'kmaq benefited from trade with the French. The French benefited from trade in furs with the indigenous populations, Mi'kmaq populations here. It was only with when this part of the country became kind of a contested landscape between the British and the French that we start seeing colonization. Now, contact and colonization are two different things. Contact is people coming here to fish. Yes, they were here. They were making records, but there, like I say, there was no attempt to establish settlements until we get that French period, then that contested period between the French and British. Then you see this colonization effort taken off and displacing Mi'kmaq from their traditional lands.
Okay. And so that colonization, what was the time period again? When you kind of started seeing 1500 is kind of more contact?
Yeah, 1500s.
1600s?
Yeah, 1500s, mid 1500s to the late 1500s, it would be a period of contact. And yes, there's interaction, there's trade, a lot of things happening here, but there's no effort at settlement.
Right.
Now, the historical kind of accepted date would be 1604
Okay. For
for
colonization?
colonization.
Gotcha.